Hello and welcome to the RedisConf 2021 post-keynote live Fireside Chat. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. Thanks for joining me today for this live conversation. 3 great guests lined up to share their reactions to the keynote and all the big news. First up is Yiftach Schulman, who's the CTO and co-founder of Redis Labs. Yiftach, great to have you. Thanks for chatting.
Hi, John.
How are you? Great to have you. We've heard so much about announcements on stage yesterday, talks today. You guys are really expanding, Redis is expanding consistency, programmability support, many use cases on the platform. Where do you see this going? Are we going to see convergence in the database space?
Great question. So I think what we are trying to do, and if we forget for a second for the individual announcements, we are trying to make sure that whenever you want to deploy a real-time application, Redis is your choice. Practically, we think there is no better choice for that. And the first component for real-time application is where do you put your data, which type of database you use. And real-time database has two elements. First is the real-time, and second is the database. So I think there is no question about the real-time portion of Redis. Yeah, everyone understands today. But every millisecond that you spend in the database means 100 times this number at your application. And in order to make a real-time application, you need to make sure that your database responds in less than a millisecond. There's a lot of question whether Redis is a database, and I think yesterday we showed our numbers, like over 9 years in productions, over 1.5 million databases, deployed over 500 data centers, cloud and on-premise, and experienced over 5,000 node failure events and 200 complete data center outages without a single lost data when someone enabled all the API features. But for those who are not convinced, we say, okay, we will move on and also provide a strong, by the book, strong consistency capabilities with RedisConf. This is what we announced yesterday. And by the way, it is always fascinating me why only ISVs need to go through this process of justifying the consistency parameters with Jepson. And if you look at all the cloud databases out there, none of them even try to run Jepson, and I'm sure that once they do it, they will find issues. And anyway, we passed Jepson with no unresolved issues. That was like the first component. Make sure that Redis now is a truly database. So that was the first component. And later on, once you have a database, you need to make sure that all the popular data model can be used on this database. This includes JSON, graph, time series, and very strong, search capabilities on the top of the key values that Redis already has. And the combination of JSON and search actually allows you to program everything on the top of Redis.
Go ahead, Ken, sorry.
Yeah, so this is in a nutshell. We have more to it, but I like that.
So there's a lot of feedback on the RedisJson and RediSearch. Obviously, great stuff there. It seems like RedisJson and RediSearch is a perfect marriage together. People are excited by that. Do you plan to publish performance benchmarks on that? And can you also give us feedback on what you're hearing from the customers?
Great question. So, actually these modules or data models are with us for the last 2 years. And I would say that the combination of JSON and search is 75%, or JSON or search, 75% of our users. So this was the #1 request to make sure that we can query, index, and search on a JSON document. As for the expected performance, we did an initial benchmark. We showed it yesterday that with Redis you can reach to 3 times to up to 37 times faster than MongoDB and Elastic per cluster node. which is expected. Redis is much faster than these technologies. Everything is in memory, written in C, very close to the hardware. It is expected.
In a world where users want real time, applications have, some features that really require fast speed, right? For, edge, whether it's a device or, data. This is real-time experiences. People want that. And I find that the AA is fascinating, having that capability. What do you hear from customers when you hear that? I got to have this app be high performance for the user. I need low latency. AA works. What do you hear from customers? What's your secret sauce and what's your vision till you see the next steps on this?
Yeah, so just to share with you some information, like over 50% of our deals are with active these days. And what is fascinating is that customers started to understand that active is not only for DR purposes. By the way, it's a great tool for DR because it can fail over immediately without a need to set up anything. You can start working on your disaster recovery replica and everything is destroyed. Another use case for active is to do a seamless migration between hybrid to cloud without the need to have a single cutoff. You know that when you want to migrate to the cloud, you're always worried what will be at the point of time when you do the cutoff. How can you make sure that if you forgot something, you can move back? So active allows you to do that. And last but not least, is to deploy a real distributed application across the globe with any number of replicas. Make sure that the data is closer as possible to where your users are. And there is actually no way to do it without active technology that is based on CRDPs, conflict-free replicated data type. For those of you who are not familiar with it, this is like academically proven. It was invented by a group of professors. And one of the leaders there is Professor Carlos, is on our advisory board. And the intent was to improve the experience of Google Sheets, by the way, which today is good. And the other idea with CRDP is that you don't need a consensus protocol. In other technologies, whenever you write or read something, you need to have the majority of the replica accepting this. Otherwise, you can reach a situation where your data set is not consistent. Not strong and not eventually consistent. It is just not consistent. With CRDPs, you don't need to do that. And therefore, it allows you to run any application at the local speed, even if it is globally deployed. This is
that's awesome.
This is the fascinating stuff.
And it's hard too. People don't know how hard that is. And also getting the right data at the right time to the users in an application is becoming table stakes and super important. I think people know that you guys have that low latency is critical.
Yeah, and I think what is new about the yesterday announcement is that we added nested data types, JSON, to CRDPs, which is not covered by any academic research. So we actually extend CRDP support nested data types, which is fascinating.
It's really great leadership from you guys as a team, showing the pioneering aspect of it and leading the open source projects. Love it. I think the community is totally into it. I got to ask you about the cloud providers. We heard from Matt and AWS yesterday, and Julie and Jeff from Microsoft and Google Cloud today. How do you see Redis Labs relationships with the cloud providers in the next 1 to say 2 years as scale continues to be pushing the envelope, the demand for modern applications at an all-time high? What is the relationship with the cloud providers from your standpoint in the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I'm happy that all cloud providers in this field cooperate. And they prove it. Yeah, we have this relationship with started with Google, with what we call free third-party first-class integration with us. Azure with the enterprise team, which is fully integrated. And lastly, even AWS, thanks to Matt, we started, with only marketplace, which is significant because you can use your AWS permit to pay for Redis Enterprise and enjoy all these exciting capabilities. But we believe we will move to the next level. Well, and I'm happy to see that these guys are cooperating with us and with other ISPs.
Yeah, I think that's a validation. I think the cloud providers have to serve their customers. And when they're voting with their code, Redis Labs, you guys are doing a great job, and they got to respond to that. But one of the things you bring in active-active, we talk about real-time data, that's powering the AI movement. AI is everywhere. It seems to be the big focus right now for you guys as well. Can you take me through your thinking on why Redis for AI makes sense for the community, for developers, and for companies? And where is the sweet spot? Is there a real-time angle to it? Can you share your thoughts, please?
Yeah, I think everyone is looking to add some element of AI to the software stack. And the last thing that we want is, once you add the AI capabilities, you don't want to degrade your application performance just because you added AI. So in the demo yesterday, we showed how you can do visual search in Redis at a sub-millisecond. And by the way, we have quite a few customers who are using it today, not for only visual search, but also for image processing. I'm telling you, they reduced the image recognition from seconds to milliseconds, which is amazing. So this is in the nutshell. But we also see, lately, as we discussed yesterday, people are starting to share the AI reference architecture, and feature store stands out like the main component to bridge between the data and the models that we create. And without us pushing it, Redis has become the de facto standard for what's called online features. Just to explain the audience what that means, usually you train your models with thousands of features, but for an online application, you usually get just a few of them. Like, for instance, fraud detection, you get the user ID and the merchant ID. But in order to run it through the AI, you need to enrich the transaction. So you access the features code to get the features, enrich the transaction, and send it to the AI inferencing engine in order to see the prediction parts of the prediction. So this is critical. Now, what we found is that if you combine together feature store with the inferencing engine, you can cut the latencies or increase the throughput by an order to 2 orders of magnitude. So in general, feature store is no more just feature, it's also inferencing engine. There are some cases where people are using it for model store, but because of the same application, you need to have multiple models. When you switch between user, you need to be served with different data models. And people are also calling it evaluation step, because once you do the inferencing, you need to do how successful it was. You need to understand how successful it was, whether you need to add some drift monitoring or feature monitoring. So it's like feature store, model store, and evaluation store. And this is the direction we do it.
Yiftach, thank you for coming on. I want to ask you a final question about the company. Redis Labs is 10 years ago, you started it. 10 years plus later, you got a lot of funding, a lot of success, great traction, validation. I interviewed over in 2013, and big data. Now you guys saw the trend of fast data early, real time. What are you most proud of over the 10 years?
Yeah, I think that first of all, for what we built, like Redis is launched or download more than 7 million times a day, more than any other. But we didn't only help, to create, I would say, better application experience. We also help companies to be successful. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but in 2014, a company called Jet.com was invented, and their CEO, Mark Lohr, decided to run everything on Azure with, back then we didn't have Active, but Active. And we asked him, why do you use Azure? Because Azure at that time was not so stable like it is today. He said, anyway, I want to run it over AWS for various reasons, for well-known reasons. So we helped them to create Jet.com. At the same time, by the way, we talked with a group of, I would say, naive engineers for a little company called Peloton Cycle that today everyone knows. And by the same time, we also help a company called Bounty, which is today all the video around Twitter to make a great success. So a lot of companies use Redis to actually create themselves. And today you wouldn't imagine the world without these companies. And last but not least, I think what's unique about Redis Labs and the Redis community is the long-term commitment of the employees and the community. So, we founded Redis Labs 10 years ago. Salvatore started Redis like 11 years ago and is still involved in the company. The core committee that manages Redis are people who contributed the first committee Redis like 10 years ago. There are people like Mark Glover, Mark Farlak, Andy McVady, which are with us, community members, not Redis Labs employees, and continue to contribute as well as Redis Labs employees. This is very unique to us, I think, as a company and as a community. Everyone who is starting to be part of it just stays there and help us to make the world just a better place.
Well, congratulations. It's a great accomplishment. It's a great milestone. Still a lot more work to do. Great pioneering work for you and the community. It's been great to watch and see. We use Redis in our little cube cloud. Love it and looking forward to using it more. So thank you for coming on and sharing your perspective post-keynote Fireside Chat. Thank you.